stunning looks than swift.
It's a big weekend here at the Men's Cricket World Cup. We've got a double-header of fixtures on Saturday and the big game coming up on Sunday between India and Australia. For now, we're starting out at possibly the most picturesque venue in world cricket. I think maybe only Newlands has got something to argue about. It's Dharamsala, where Bangladesh are playing Afghanistan. And it's set to be a really interesting game between two subcontinent sides who really both need to get points on the board to get their World Cup underway. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday. I'm joined today by Wasim, Jaffer and Urooj Mumtaz. Wasim, let's start with you. Welcome first of all. And what are you looking forward to from this really interesting clash?
I mean, these two teams are supposed to be not favorites, obviously, for the tournament, but a lot to play for. Bangladesh, they play in similar conditions. I mean, it's subcontinent conditions, so they are expected to do better. They had up and down Asia Cup. I mean, they haven't done really well in the ICC event so far, haven't won anything. So they'll be keen. I think they've got most bases covered. They've got good spin attack, always has been their main thing. But their fast bowlers are pretty good. Their batting has got a lot of depth, a lot of experience. There's a question mark over the top order, but I think they've got most bases covered, so they'll be hoping they get off to a good start. Similar with Afghanistan, they've done really well in the T20 format, but they hasn't turned up in the 50-over format, so they'll be hoping the same thing. The spinners obviously are their key. Their top order is good, but the middle order is a bit of question mark, so they would like to correct that.
Yeah, so Urooj, it's time for Afghanistan, I guess, to really show up and to show us what their one-day game is all about. Do you think this is the opportunity for them to really put a peg in the ground and say, hey, we're here, we're at the 50-over World Cup and it's time to get some wins on the board?
It has to be. I mean, the Cricketing World Cup is the pinnacle for one-day format, right? So I think that's where you make a mark in these global ICC tournaments. And Afghanistan has been there and thereabout for a long period of time, has troubled a lot of sides in the shorter version. But 50 over is a different story, and we see that with a lot of sides that are trying to make a big impact consistently. I think Afghanistan has come close a lot of times, especially to Bangladesh. If you look at the last 5 times, I think Afghanistan got the better 3 times out of those 5. But I think there will be concerns more around with the bat and their batting depth, like Wasim alludes to. And I think that'll be the difference, including the experience that Bangladesh probably have of World Cup events amongst 3 or 4 of their players.
So it's really all about whether Afghanistan can push Bangladesh in this World Cup opener. Of course, Afghanistan, they've won just the 1 game in their 2 World Cup appearances. And Bangladesh, who've been regular at World Cups and pushed and threatened and really caused some big upsets in the past, this will be the tournament where they want to find some consistency. So let's take a look at what we can expect from the Bangladesh team through this event.
Bangladesh, a team that's famous for snake celebrations. But with all the selection controversies, retirement announcements and retirement cancellations, the dressing room seems to have a little more venom than required. But Shakib and company go into the World Cup with one big positive. They've just beaten hosts India in the Asia Cup in a last over finish. Yes, in a close finish against India, they came out on top. So, are we going to see them spin a better story this World Cup? Quite literally, yes. In ODIs since 2021, Bangladesh's spinners have the best bowling average. Oh, and this next one might surprise you. Since the start of 2022, their pacers have outperformed every team in the first 10 overs. There's one glaring issue with this side though, and that's got to do with their batting. When you look at numbers 1 to 4, their average is only better than Netherlands, West Indies and Zimbabwe, and only one of those teams is playing this World Cup. So who are the Tigers that will roar the loudest in this team? All eyes will be on Shakib Al Hasan. Since the start of 2022, the captain has scored 784 runs in 24 innings and also picked up 31 wickets. Another one to keep a lookout for is Mehdi Hasan Miraz. Since 2022, he's been Bangladesh's top wicket taker in ODIs with 36 wickets in 30 matches. He's also one of only 2 Bangladesh batters with multiple hundreds in this period, one as opener and another while batting at number 8. Bangladesh have been waiting in the wings for far too long. Their fans will hope that 2023 is the year they finally take charge.
That's the news coming in now from Dharamsala that Bangladesh have won the toss and they've decided to bowl first against Afghanistan. And that'll put the Afghan batters under immediate pressure. But I want to move now to a conversation around the Bangladesh batting, because the issues start right at the top, where Tamim Iqbal, we've seen, is not part of this World Cup squad. And so Bangladesh will have a new opening partnership. There's obviously a lot to unpack here, including the Tamim Iqbal issue. But Wasim, can we start with the makeup of this opening partnership? We've got a youngster now who's having to put his best foot forward in a big tournament. This is a pressure situation. How do you expect him to hold up?
Well, he's done well. He was, I think, the best player in the emerging tournament that the under-23 or under-25 that went to play. And he's been a pretty consistent performer in the domestic and whatever little opportunities he's got in the Asia Cup also. I mean, he didn't have a good start, but I think he scored runs in the later half. So he's the next exciting player to come out after, obviously, Tamim Iqbal issue. But I think it's the right move to stick to him and give him an opportunity, because he does show promise. Mehdi Hassan Miraz is obviously the other guy who was a stopgap. He did got 100 in the Asia Cup, but I don't think it's a permanent solution. So I think they need to stick with Tanzid, and obviously Litan Das has to come good. Litan Das hasn't had a great in great form recently, but for a year and a half before, he was their most consistent player. So he need to come good in such a big tournament. And then Shakib, Mushfiq and Mohammedullah Riyad, they've hold the experience. Tauhid Ridoy obviously is an exciting player as well. So they've got really good mixture of youth and experience. But, you know, like we have said, in the ICC event, they haven't turned up. You know, they haven't made a semi-finals yet. So that should be their first target. As they are playing in subcontinent condition, they know their spin is going to be dominant here, something they like. So minimum, target for them is to make the semi-final cut.
It's also quite a tough ask, and we're talking there about young Tanzid Hassan, who was part of the Bangladesh under-19 team that won the 2020 World Cup. They've got 4 members of that squad in attendance at this World Cup, and it's a really nice way to see the youth coming through there to blend with some of the experience. The problems, of course, have lain with the experience. So, Urooj, I'm going to come to you and ask you your opinion, first of all, on what transpired before the World Cup, where we saw Tamim Iqbal resign as captain and then being asked to come back as captain and then dropped and then being called immature by the captain, Shakib Al Hassan. It sounds like a little bit of a mess. What's your opinion on what happened there?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. In fact, really sad to see the team or the administration of the players sort of wash and hang their dirty laundry for the public to see. I mean, I can understand there can be drama and misunderstandings or difference of opinions, and to ask somebody to come out of retirement and then not select them, whether he was injured. There was multiple stories, but had that remained indoors, I think that would have probably been better for then Shakib to have a go at Tamim. And I think that is something that didn't go or will not go down nicely. I think what Bangladesh can do now is put everything behind. I think the coach also wanted to put a lid on stuff. But whether there is an opinion within the group, and if that materializes onto the ground, that's probably the last thing Bangladesh would want. And I'm sure now that they turned up to the World Cup event, the 4 players that you mentioned who are out of the 2020 Under-19 World Cup, I think they will be raring to go. There are 4 players who are playing, I'm guessing, their last World Cups as well. They'll want to make a mark. So I think it's high time they put all of that behind. It was really unfortunate to see. But the best thing that Bangladesh can do is put a mark on this World Cup and, like Wasim says, make the semi-finals.
Yeah, and so are those 4 players that we mentioned, the youthful players from the Bangladesh team, but there are also 4 who we're likely to see for the last time at World Cups. Shakib Al Hassan, who we know has had that little feud with Tamim Iqbal, has said he's playing his last World Cup. There's a lot on him. He's the marquee player, really the face of Bangladesh cricket. And let's take a look at his record at World Cups, because he's the player that they're going to rely on in all sorts of departments. It's the batting, it's the bowling, it's the leadership record as well. So we can see there that Shakib's played 29 World Cup matches. He's scored over 1,000 runs, and that's a fantastic batting average. It's a batting average of 45.84. Of course, that's not the only department that they'll need him in. They'll need him to take some wickets as well. He's got 34 with a fantastic economy rate, just over 5 runs and over. Those are great numbers. Those are really what makes a champion player at big tournaments. Wasim, I just want to ask you a little bit about the character, because Shakib, we know this has been going on behind the scenes. Is this going to weigh on him as a captain, as a character? How does he have to come through in order to lead the team well?
It should not. Ideally, obviously, they must have, thought through this. The management, the captain itself. So I think they should leave that behind. Shakib is an experienced guy. Obviously, he's led them before, and he leads them. I remember last World Cup, he was their most valuable player. He had an outstanding World Cup, very close to getting the man of the tournament. So that's a good thing. Now he's leading that team again. So it should be a motivating factor for him. Probably his last World Cup as well. And like I said, they haven't made the knockout stages yet. So that's a driving force for many of them. The youngsters, like Urooj says, few of them are playing the first World Cup, few of them will be playing their last as well. So lot to play for, and they would like a very good start. If they start really well, nothing like that for them.
It feels as though this Bangladesh team is now at the stage where they've got the blend of youth and experience, and they have to start to make a statement. So, Urooj, while we sort of round up the discussion on them, I just want to ask about whether you think that, for Bangladesh, who've come to World Cups, they've threatened, they've caused some big upsets, beaten South Africa, beaten Pakistan, for example. What do they need to do to get it right, to not just cause the odd upset here and there or win the odd game here and there, but actually now string together 5 or 6 good performances and be serious contenders for a semi-final?
Yeah, I think the word that resonates with contenders will have to be consistency. For Bangladesh to be consistently in that top 4, they will have to be consistent. And I think the point that we're making about the blend of the youth and the experience, I think somehow it just feels that it'll actually come together quite nicely, because those will be trying to make a first impact and those will be trying to make a lasting impression when they phase out those 4 or 5 players. And yes, there have been performances, but I think there have been multiple performances from multiple match winners throughout in the last few months, and that's something nice to see. We've seen runs from Mehdi Hassan Miraz, Shanto's been there, Liton Das, we know what him, Shakib Al Hasan, Mushfiqur Rahim and Mahmudullah will bring. But even the group of fast bowling led by Taskeen Ahmed, Shariful was impressive in bits and pieces as well during the Asia Cup. So I really feel that this team will actually come together, and they've got all the composition and they've got multiple match winners. So I think it's just about stringing up big runs, because I feel they do have the bowling to defend big runs.
Yeah, Bangladesh's bowling have certainly been something to look at. So let's take a look at their 11 for this game against Afghanistan. And although we've been talking about the battle of the 2 subcontinent teams and we expect that to be based on spin, I think we should really start looking at the Bangladesh quicks, and in particular Taskeen Ahmed, who's just been so fantastic for them. He's got an average of 16.9 this year, and there we can see him at number 9 in the team. Tanzid Hassan, Wasim, we spoke about him opening the batting with Liton Das. I suppose the middle order looks pretty much like we would expect. And then what do you make of the attack that they've chosen today?
I think it looks a good attack. Taskeen, Shariful, Mustafiz, really solid 3 spinners. Then Shakib, and then Mehdi Hassan Miraz. So they've got really good 5 bowling options. Mahmudul Riyad he's probably is the 6th option, but they've got batting till 8. I mean, Riyad batting at number 8. So that's a very solid batting lineup. Mehdi Miraz at 4. He's been slotted there. I think it's a good position for him because he can play really sensibly. He can probably rotate the strike and take the game till about 35-40 overs, and then the senior guys can come in. So I think it looks a very solid team, and there will be some help at the start. Generally Dharamsala is a little cold in the first half, probably for the 10-15 overs. Their seamers can probably find some help, and they can probably open up the game. Like we have said, with Afghanistan, their top order, they rely very heavily on them. If they get through that, they'll put pressure on Afghanistan.
So Dharamsala is the place where I think we're expecting that the seamers will be able to get something up front. Got to admit, Wasim was talking to me before the show, telling me about the snow-topped mountains in Dharamsala. I just got Cape Town and Table Mountain. I'm not even sure I can compete here. But I'd love to know more about this venue. I've not been myself. If you've not been, I'm sure you'd love to know more as well. Let's take a look at the absolute beauty that is Dharamsala.
It's one of the most scenic cricket grounds in the world, nestled in the hills and surrounded by the snow-clad peaks of the mighty Himalayas. The HPCA Stadium in Dharamsala has hosted plenty of T20s, but only 4 completed ODIs so far. However, as many as 5 fixtures of the 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup have been allotted to this venue. 3 of them are day games, while there are also 2 day-nighters, including India versus New Zealand on October the 22nd. The high altitude and small 64-meter boundaries are generally conducive to 6 hitting and high scores. But the average is dragged down by poor batting first displays in the last 2 ODIs here in 2017 and 2016. The toss could be vital too, as dew is often a big factor in the second innings. The stats back that up with a 75% success rate for chasing teams. Many a spinner have found bowling here with the white ball quite challenging, and it is generally the faster bowlers who tend to do the heavy lifting in terms of overs bowled and wickets taken. Dharamsala produced some entertaining matches during the Women's and Men's T20 World Cups in 2016. And this time should be no different.
Well, doesn't it just look a picture? Absolutely magnificent. The first ODI in Dharamsala since 2017, and those who are there are just oh so lucky. They're also going to see this Afghanistan side. Let's have a look at the 11 that they've chosen for their World Cup opener. I suppose the big talking point here is going to be the inclusion of the all-rounder Omarzai in the middle order. Urooj, was this what you were expecting them to do, given that there's no Gulbadin Naib, there's no Karim Jannat either?
Yeah, you'd imagine so. I think it was expected. It was, I mean, if we had written the 11 prior to the game, I think a lot of people would have had Omarzai in the team. Again, that looks a very good side. Their bowlers as well make up a very good 5 bowling unit. Naveen ul Haq, Fazlak Farooqi in particular as well swings the ball. Like the way he bowls with aggression. And they've got 3 quality spinners in Mujib, Rashid and Mohammad Nabi. So they're also, again, a very good bowling side. I think the problem with Afghanistan will be batting big runs and depth of batting as well. They rely heavily on the top 2, as we've already spoken about. And that's where, with the conditions favouring in the first 10 odd overs for Bangladesh, I think that'll be the matchup that'll set up the game.
I want to just talk a little bit about the Afghan batters in particular, and especially their opening pair. I mean, Urooj was talking about the importance of how they need to do well against the Bangladesh seamers. So we speak quite a lot about Rahmanullah Gurbaz. I suppose he's the more well-known one, but Ibrahim Zadran's done really, really well. I've got some numbers for him here. Since 2022, 18 innings, he scored 909 runs, so just shy of 1,000 there, and that average is really something to look at. It's 56.8, 450s and 400s. He's an explosive player. We've seen him play some fantastic shots. Well, Wasim, what do you expect from him in this tournament, and how much is resting on him, given that, you know, starting really well is something Afghanistan have to do?
Well, first of all, it's a big tournament for him to shine, and for him to, you know, announce to the world to take notice of him. You know, you look forward to this kind of tournaments. I think he did really well in the Asia Cup, even the first one, the year before one. And this is a big event for him to, you know, announce himself, and he'll be looking to probably do that. He's very consistent performer across white ball cricket, and he's got a good technique, plays spin really well, plays fast bowling really well, and he takes his time. That's what you need in 50 over. You don't need to rush. Rahmanullah Gurbaz is the aggressive one. So a lot depends on those 2 guys, you know, for them to give a good start. And if they do that, then Afghanistan have got good chances of doing well, because their batting is their problem, because they rely on on the big guys, probably Rashid in the bowling department and Nabi and Mujib. Naveen ul Haq has come back, but in the batting department, they rely very heavily on these two guys. So if they come good, they've got good chance. If they put score on the board, then they've got the bowling to defend that.
Yeah, their batting certainly has been the problem. Afghanistan's number 4 to 11, they've got the lowest average of players since 2021. So before this World Cup, leading up into these games, they averaged just 26.4. They're scoring at a run rate of 4.8. And they seem to be dismissed once every 5 and a bit overs, so 32.7 balls there. You can see that's even lower than the Dutch, who are the only associate team at this World Cup, and they gave a pretty good account of themselves against Pakistan yesterday, and then Sri Lanka are up next. So Afghanistan's middle order really the thing that they need to work on, but we can't leave a conversation around Afghanistan without talking about the spinners and the impact that they're going to have at this tournament. That's the department that we're all looking at and that we're all expecting big things from. We saw Rashid Khan in the lead up to this game. He was actually the one giving the team talk, and there's been a lot of conversation around how well he's done in T20 leagues and then whether he can replicate that in the 50-over game on the international stage. So, Urooj, coming to you, do you feel that this is, as you said, you spoke about it being a moment for certain players, is it Rashid Khan's moment to really step up and own what is the 50-over game?
I think he will have to not just step up for himself to announce, like you're saying, in the 50-over game, but for the entire Afghanistan team. I think they derive a lot of motivation and energy from him. He's the kind of guy who's a front attack. He's a kind of, pack leader for all of them. And it'll be important for him to translate that into a 10-over spell, because in a 20-over game, in the 4 overs, the batters don't have a choice and they almost have to attack. You can't leave 20% of the overs and sort of play out Rashid Khan. In the 50-over version, they can almost take their time a little bit and knock him around for singles and not necessarily have to attack. How he adapts to that will be interesting to see, considering it is a World Cup and all games matter. So I think that'll be something. He's got all the skill, mind you, he's got all the skill, he's got the temperament, and he's got a wealth of experience, albeit in the 20 version. So it'll be a very big revelation for Afghanistan to see how Rashid Khan leads that bowling attack, still having excellent bowlers around him, but he's surely the leader of the pack in any side when he's bowling.
A lot resting there on Rashid Khan's shoulders, and definitely seems to be up for the occasion, singing the national anthem as we talk at the moment. And it's really a proud moment for Afghanistan. Wasim, I just want to talk slightly bigger picture around this game and around these two teams. You know, we've been talking about marquee fixtures in the tournament, and of course tomorrow we've got India against Australia, which is a contest everyone's really looking forward to. But for these two teams in this moment, starting against each other, I suppose, is quite a nice, comfortable start for the both of them in some ways. And then it's about what they can do to put themselves in the conversation among maybe the top 6. Because I sense there's a feeling this World Cup is maybe a little lopsided, and we've discounted some teams already. So what can they do here that'll make us think, hang on, maybe there's a surprise coming?
Well, first of all, start well. If you get 2-3 wins at the start of the tournament, then obviously you get the momentum. Momentum is very key. Once you get that momentum, then everybody else believes as well. I mean, the guys who are playing, the support staff, then everybody comes behind you. So you need to find that momentum as early as in the tournament. So that's going to be key for both the teams. Like we have discussed, in the ICC event, they haven't performed the kind of expectation, everybody puts them into. So that's what probably they want, and they start really well. And if they got few points in the table, then you never know. That momentum carries and the players get confidence, and then you start believing that you can upset some good teams. And then for that, the big players need to step up. I mean, we've talked about Afghanistan, same with Bangladesh as well, that few players, the standout players need to put in match-winning performances, and things start going from there.
Starts for these two teams at Dharamsala. And now it's time for us to have a little bit of fun and ask our experts to tell us what they think the scores are going to be. So you're going to be seeing a lot of these guys through the tournament, and I think we should keep a record of who comes closest to getting the correct scores, because if it was me that was doing it, I'd be getting them all wrong. I'm a really, really bad predictor. Urooj, I hope you're better than me. What do you reckon we are going to see Bangladesh chase here, and how much is going to be a good score?
Well, I'd imagine they'll have to score over 275 at least to be a good score, but I reckon they won't get more than 240.
Ooh, okay, 240. Wasim?
I'm going to go 260 to 270, something in that area.
Okay, so we've got, nobody's really expecting Afghanistan to shoot the lights out here despite some small boundaries, and I think that's probably because of what happened the last time these two teams met. So Afghanistan played Bangladesh in the Asia Cup not so long ago, just last month. Bangladesh batted first on that occasion. They scored 334 runs. There were 2 centuries that we can see there. Mehdi Hassan Miraz was opening the batting on that occasion. He scored 112. And you can see the Afghan bowlers really struggled. They just took the 5 wickets. And then Ibrahim Zadran, who we spoke about, and we spoke about how much expectation is on him to try and form a formidable opening pair with Rahmanullah Gurbaz. He top scored with 75, but Afghanistan well short. 245 runs. They managed to lose by 89 runs on that occasion. And they'll need a little bit more than that. Urooj reckons maybe they're going to get around 240, or seems looking at around 260. I don't know, maybe I should be different and say 320, just to see what happens, and then we can all have a laugh at the mid-innings show. But it's set to be an absolute cracker in Dharamsala. It's going to be a competitive and exciting match. It's maybe not the fixture that you would have pinpointed in the calendar as the one to watch, but I reckon we're going to have a really competitive game. Thank you to our guests, Urooj Mumtaz and Wasim Jaffer. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday. We're going to be back with you at the mid-innings break to discuss the innings, to see who was right with their score prediction, to see who was wrong maybe, and to analyze what needs to happen next. While the game is on, don't forget that you can download the ESPN Cricinfo app. There's a big weekend of cricket coming up, and you're going to be seeing all the scores, news, views, and analysis on the app. Loads of content for you to enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you at the innings break.
Stunning looks, then swift,